Alright, it's November 19th and we're continuing on the Don Enos project, the interview with Donovan Enos. We were just talking about how on Friday the 13th of 1945, Grandpa was on a mission in which he received some enemy fire and actually ended up having to crash land on a farm somewhere in enemy territory. Do you remember the city or area, or did you ever figure out afterwards where you'd actually ended up crash landing?
Well, I think there again, not having ever been back there since, but from what I've been able to learn since then, why it was near the little town of Hamm. I think it's spelled H-A-M-M, if I'm not mistaken.
Hamm, Germany?
Yeah. And it was actually on the garden area of a farm, a rural farm.
What do you mean by garden area?
Well, it had been apparently cleared of trees and all that sort of thing, and I assume that they were raising vegetables and so on there. Yeah. But it's the final details of where, etc., are somewhat were wiped out by the concussion that I received. And
so this wasn't a smooth landing?
No, not at all.
No.
They say anyone you can walk away from is a good landing, but I can't. I was not able to walk away from this one.
So were you?
But
did
I
you
was.
maintain consciousness, or was it just a concussion, or did you lose consciousness?
Oh yeah. Oh definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I came to in the ambulance. Is what I did. There was an ambulance driver and his partner that happened to be within sight of my airplane as it hit the ground.
This was an Allied.
Yeah, they were members of the 320th Holding Hospital, which was the same as a MASH hospital. In fact, the people who made up this MASH unit were from Cook County, Illinois.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've often, and I remember the guy that kind of was the leader, you might say, of this MASH hospital. His name was James Pike, P-I-K-E. And I've mentioned it to several people, but nobody has ever followed up and is there any history left as far as the Cook County Hospital is concerned? Mm-hmm. And I know that they've torn the old one down and they've got a new one there and all that sort of thing. But some places might have some history. Not that it would contain anything about me, but maybe this guy Pike, maybe his future was back there. Maybe he never went back there.
No, I see.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, how did they, was this ambulance just driving along and they saw you, or was there some process in place to find downed pilots?
Yeah. No, this is a routine. Well, there again, I don't know because it's speculation really, but there was a lot of activity going on as far as our troops were concerned. Is that they were all interested in going out collecting German silverware, German jewelry, and so on. and that could have been their motive, but in the meantime, I happened to come, you know, need.
So was it the sort of thing that they saw you crash land? And
Yeah, they, from what I could understand from them, and I think the driver, I had my conversation with him was all when they were driving me from the crash site to the hospital itself. See, and one of the things I remember, this is a state of consciousness that I was in and out of for a day or so at least, you know. And so he was curious as to where I was from, so on, and also he had his eye, he wanted my sidearm, my .45 caliber pistol, and he wanted me to give it to him. I don't recall whether I, you know, he in any event, he wound up with my .45 pistol, and his partner wound up with my parachute. We had these backpack type parachutes, and so when it was all over, why I didn't have them, so I had to explain that to the people in my supply department. But at any rate, they didn't charge me anything.
So it wasn't the case that there was a process or a team in place that tracked pilots who crashed and then went and found them.
No, there's nothing pre-planned about
Right.
the whole thing at
So
all.
this ambulance just happened to be in the area.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
And then subsequently, it could have been weeks later, I don't know. They came along and they cleaned up the area. They hauled off the unusable, reusable pieces of the airplane. And
can you talk a little bit about the P-47 and its
well, it had a reputation for being least. It wasn't a. If you had to crash land, why its chances of surviving it and protecting the pilot and not catching fire and all that sort of thing were the best available. They weren't perfect, of course, but they were good.
So it was known to handle crashes better than other planes up
Yeah.
to that point.
Right. Yeah.
Mainly because it just was
It was the way it was built, and I guess you could thank the manufacturer that built it.
But a large part of that was that it didn't catch fire easy because it was
Yeah.
air cooled.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, that's probably a good place to pause. We'll stop there, and then we'll find out where the hospital where the hospital was they took you to, and
Yeah.
go from there.
Sure.